Hey everyone, how's it going? My name's RDT, and as some of you may know, I play Jailbreak. But not just play the game, I breathe this mother. I'm exaggerating, of course, but I do have years of experience under my imaginary belt. Today, I'll be reviewing Jailbreak in its entirety, mainly just the current state of the game, and a little bit of the past. By the way, Jailbreak was made by Badimo, Bad CC, and Asimo 3089. Let's begin. We started our journey back in 2018 or something, I forgot, when there were no seasons, barely any robberies, and a minimal selection of cars. After some time, the game got progressively better with more updates. More content was added, and it made the game feel fresh. Some people say that Jailbreak is a GTA copy, but personally, I've never played GTA. Ever. Regardless, this is a good time to play the game. When Season 1 came around, this was on my main account by the way, I got banned. It was well executed. All you had to do was just rob, kill cops, and do the usual stuff you are already doing. Personally, I found it to be the best season as it was an introduction like no other. I sometimes wish they kept it that way. It's also important to mention that cops weren't such a pain in the ass back then since it was mostly just kids, i.e. me, playing the game. Sure, you can argue that kids are the majority demographic in the game, but that also goes for a lot of other experiences on the platform. Fast forward to the present day, and I still have fun playing the game. As far as I know, basically everyone has given up on Jailbreak. They, i.e. my friends and family, found the game to be too grindy, too difficult, and just flat out boring. And to that, I say they are right in their own respective manner. Here's some of my issues with some parts of the game. Let me know what you think. Just know that's okay to be wrong. Let's take the number of robberies. It has multiplied by a factor of at least 5? There's more robberies, basically. The old system was pretty good, and I wish it didn't completely get rid of it. A hybrid of the old and new would have been the best of both worlds. However, I found it rather infuriating finding out that some people complained that there were too many robberies open. How the frick do you complain about something good that's an integral part of the game? That makes no sense! Unfortunately, Badima listened to the feedback and rolled out a new robbery system that everyone was forced to get used to. My thoughts on the new system? It's okay. Sometimes, when I'm in the server looking for places to rob, there will be a temporary dry spell where absolutely nothing is open. Not cool, dude. They did make some changes to improve it, but it won't be nearly as good as the old one. Here's some advice. Don't change when it broke. Moving on. The vehicles in the game can be vastly improved. Although I prefer flying over driving, I do find it to be pretty exhilarating when I'm full blasted to nitro. That being said, they really need to fix the map to optimize ground vehicles, as I find myself constantly hitting everything in my way. The freaking handling at high speeds makes it impossible to drive smoothly. Everyone keeps leaving their vehicles on the freaking road. Move them out of the way, just let me drive! Excuse me. But basically, just make it better to drive however way possible. If it means adding grip to the tires, or changing the map ever so slightly, do what you must. And finally, the weapons, combat, and other items. As of the time of recording, I am already accustomed to the new system. While I personally think it may be worse at gunfights or whatever, it's fine. Let's go over every weapon, shall we? By the way, I'm not taking into account the price of these weapons, except for some, as earning money is far easier than in the past. Pistol. Does 15 damage, is consistent, meaning low recoil, and a great weapon to use. It's balanced, so don't change anything. Please. Shotgun. Does 30 damage if all the pellets hit? Otherwise, you'd see yourself doing 10, 15, or just 3 damage. If you don't aim the gun right, you might as well just use a light machine gun. It could benefit with the reload speed buff. 10 to 50% should be good. The AK-47. It does 6 damage, shoots pretty fast, and it's reliable for doing damage mid to long range. Nothing to change here, so don't do anything with it. I personally just use the rifle more. Speaking of the rifle, it does 5 damage, but shoots faster than the AK. It's basically the Uzi, but with double the magazine size. The fire rate is what makes it good. Nothing to change here. Uzi. Does 7 damage per bullet, but the magazine size is half of that to the rifle. This weapon is not good for the sole reason that the magazine size is too small. You will probably be reloading more often than actually shooting the thing, which, when it comes to fighting cops, reloading is not an option. My suggestion is to add 5 more bullets in a magazine, or bring back the old reload time for the Uzi. I know you know what I'm talking about. Flintlock does 45 damage, pushes you backwards, which could be beneficial, but only has 1 ammo. Buff the reload speed a bit more, 20%, then it should be fine. When the new gun system wasn't implemented yet, the Flintlock would allow switching to a second weapon much faster, practically instant. From what I can remember, the best combo at the time was using the Flintlock, then sniper, and then the shotgun. It wouldn't necessarily KO the player, but it would leave the person very vulnerable to anything. The finishing blow from the shotgun is recommended. You could still do the same thing today, albeit with a little more wait time. Revolver. What is there to say about it? 25 damage per shot, reloads very fast, and shoots faster than before. Even though it has high recoil, it is a very good weapon to master. If you can aim your shots right, you'll be seeing shotgun level damage from afar. Great buff, guys! You did it good. Sniper. Does 80 damage at max range, and is reliable in taking out cops and criminals, vehicles, both flying and ground, and NPCs from very far away. Assuming you aim it right, then it's a force to be reckoned with. The recoil can be lowered very slightly, but it's not a big deal. The scope in first person can be improved by giving some information on damage based on distance. It would be a nice quality of life change. Forcefield Launcher. It's amazing. It's a portable ambulance that, when inside the force field, heals you faster and blocks gunshots, excluding plasma pistol, explosives, and others. My only concern is that the taser goes through the force field. Can you make it not do that? It's straight up unfair. Plasma pistol. Before I give my opinion on the weapon, there's a bug where the ammo starts at 10, but if you reload it, it goes back to 20. Just thought I'd point that out. It does 6 damage, shoots fast, and can pierce through the force field. I'm really digging the magazine size being doubled. I just wish the weapon did a bit more. Then there's the minigun and NERF pistol and revolver. I don't care enough to review them because A, the minigun doesn't turn 360 degrees and is unreliable, and B, I'm not willing to pay like $20 or something to get gun DLCs. The boss and SWAT game passes don't count as it's already bundled with it. Now, we're going to move on to some other weapons. The baton and the sword. Both do the same amount of damage and give the same effect. After a couple of swings or attacks, you can get a brief boost in movement speed. That being said, it has a very short range, making it impractical in combat against other players. It is good, however, for very close interactions, where it can prove to be more efficient killing people with it over using guns. For the most part, only use it for boosts in movement speed and nothing else. Please do something to improve them. C4, or as I like to call it, middle C. It's surprisingly good, and it's the criminal's version of the taser, albeit more expensive and harder to pull off. It can knock back cops or criminals, including yourself, which is pretty cool. The only change I recommend is to make the delay instant instead of a second. In short, it gets the job done. Grenades and smoke grenades. Grenades do a decent amount of damage, but cost $500 a pop. They also tend to bounce a lot, and there's no way of telling where it will go. My suggestion is to add a way of seeing the trajectory of the throw before throwing it. That way, it improves accuracy and viability. The smoke grenade sucks. It costs $1,200 each, just so the screen becomes blurry. And a max of 3? Come on, give me a break. You can't even spam these things. What I would do to improve it is make it a poison explosive. Not only would it tint the screen brownish yellow, but it will also deal damage over time. Also, increase the max capacity to 5 while you're at it. Rocket Launcher, or the RPG. Oh boy, do I love using this thing. It goes through walls, the force field, and causes a napalm effect by setting fire to the point of impact. It can even target flying vehicles if locked on for long enough. The only downsides would be that it costs a bit too much to keep restocking on rockets, and it can get interrupted by nearby surroundings. My recommendation is to reduce the price of each rocket from $1,000 to $750 and increase the max capacity to 50 or so. Also, it's infuriating how long I had to wait before shooting the damn thing. Make that quicker. Thanks. And then there's the flashlight and binoculars. Thankfully, they are better, but there's no need to use them. Still not a bad choice if you don't have the sniper or the environment is dark as freak. Donut and energy drink. The donut's fine. It could heal more. Could you make it so boss or SWAT Game Pass holders can hold 2 donuts? That'd be nice. The energy drink is also fine, but it lasts too short. Make the duration longer. 2 seconds more should be fine. Glider. Just make it not a one-time use and let us keep it in our inventory. Jetpack. Never used it before, and I'm definitely not using it now. It's awkward to use, and while you don't need to pay Robux for fuel, it's not great. If anything, I find it to be more of a nuisance. Let's move on to Game Passes. They are not made equal. Before that, just know that Badimo may raise the prices of Game Passes in the future. I think it already happened, but I'm not sure as my Chrome browsers are contradicting each other. Here's a screenshot to prove that. May have something to do with my extension, I don't know. TradingVIP. Why? All it does is add some rainbow cosmetics to you at the trading hub, a teleport button for the lazy, and makes the trade notification last longer. What practical purpose does it serve? I don't get it. Car stereo. Don't get it. It's actually a scam. End of story. SWAT. For what it's worth, it's not very good. I won't bother you for what it includes, as it's already stated in its description. However, I will give some suggestions on how to improve it. First, let SWAT Game Pass holders place down 2 road spikes. Simple enough, right? Next, make the riot shield actually work. Not just that, but allow them to use the shield and shoot back. There could be a system where you take very little damage, 90%, when only shielding, and a bit less when shielding and shooting. It could be like 50% or something. The paychecks can reward 3 to 4 times more instead of 2 times. That's about it. Boss. I like having this Game Pass, but it's not the first one I'd go for when starting a new account. The additional spawn locations upon death is nice. Same thing with SWAT and VIP. The notifications for robberies opening early are also fine, but not as good as before due to the robbery markers. Green means open and red means closed. And changing out the prison uniform is a nice addition. To be honest, I don't know how to improve this pass. Maybe add some boss exclusive items for apartments or vehicle customizations, but I'm not entirely sure. Something needs to change about it to make it better. VIP. Expensive as freak, but does offer a plethora of things. The most notable perks are plus 100 nitro and a tier 2 safe every day. It instantly unlocks the level 4 bases, really good for going back and forth finding other players. The alternative would be using an all and looking at the map. And 20% more cash for everything besides safes. Sounds good, right? Well, it is, if it weren't for how much Robux it's worth. If you don't care about your money, then go ahead and buy it. But buy these Game Passes first. Duffel Bag. Incredibly good. For less than $5, you get double the money from most robberies and makes your efforts feel more rewarded. If you're just starting out, buy this Game Pass all in one go instead of buying each tier individually. It's more convenient, and you may lose out on benefits such as cargo ship and the small stores give you more money. Pro Garage. Also incredibly good. You could spawn every vehicle besides flying vehicles, excluding the Celsior, and have a shortened cooldown forever. 1.5 minutes to just a minute. Sure, the 100k free garage is fine, but this takes it to a whole nother level. Something that I do all the time is spawning in the vehicle, then double clicking the icon to apply the engine level 5 and brakes level 3. Doesn't work on everything though. And now, the most important part of this video. I saved the best for last, as I am now going to go clinically insane explaining this. Cops. Gosh, where do I begin? Do I start with their stank-ass attitude, or their broken-ass freak mechanics? Well, as for the community, it plays a big role as to why people are staying away from the game. Nobody wants to play a game where they're getting constantly barraged with toxicity, whether it be getting arrested, people spamming L in chat, or trolling. It's also for little kids better to do, other than arresting others and camping your poo. So I can sit the freak down and take your pill. You are not the king of games, you make me shrill. I will kill you and put you and do it again. I'm about to make you cry and never come back. Excuse me, I just went a little off track. Where were we? Alright, I was thought about that. So with cops, there are two things that make them so overpowered. The taser and the handcuffs. Let me start off with the taser, as it causes the most issues with me getting arrested more times than I can remember. It's easy to hit criminals with it, as the game indicates it with a yellow circle outline thing. It also has an unrealistic amount of range. But the worst part about it, you are stunned for way too long. I did some testing on my own time and found that the amount of time stunned is about 3.5 seconds long. Mate, how is that fair? So much range and so much time immobilized. This duration needs to be decreased by at least a second. A second and a half would be great. I don't get how you were okay with this, as it makes the cop team less about skill and more about how many criminals are in the area. All it is tase and arrest, over and over and over again. I'm sick and tired of it. Freaking fix that. Now, the biggest culprit that accounts for 100% of the problems of being a criminal are, no drumroll please, the handcuffs. By far the worst part of going against a cop. Trying to roll away? Too bad. With its 0.5 second time to get arrested, you're guaranteed to get screwed. Trying to run away? Too bad. It has an excessive amount of range. Finding it in a small room? Too bad. You're going to get arrested. Decrease the range. But most importantly, increase the time it takes to get arrested from 0.5 seconds to 1.5 seconds. At least a second. But Demo, you guys made a banger game that I still play to this day. But you really need to fix these issues, as it's only causing frustration and anguish when playing. And I know I'm not alone in this, as other people have voiced their opinions on the cop team. How am I supposed to explore new content or experiment when I'm always paranoid about getting arrested by a cop that just spawned out of thin air? Fix your freaking game! Stop making me feel so weak compared to the cops! Let me have a fighting chance! To conclude, please take these suggestions and opinions with a grain of salt. I do want this game to improve, and I want it to keep succeeding. But if no change happens, then I'm afraid it's only going to get worse. Thank you all for watching, and freak cops!